to the IFF TV podcast.
Hello, Muckle Irish Football Fan TV. This is the League of Ireland show. Obviously, we're covering over. There's been 2 games played over the bank holiday. I'm joined by Gary Spain here, and we're going to get straight in. We're going to talk about the record breakers, Shamrock Rovers. They set a new record of 31 games unbeaten. They've gone top of the table after 9 games on 23 points, and they've broken their own record from 94 years ago, and Athlon's record in 1980 and 81. You went to see them on Monday, and tell me just how good are they at the moment?
Okay, first of all, Paul, it's a phenomenal achievement, and hats off to Stephen Bradley, because 31 league games unbeaten. It's, as you said, it's an all-time record. It broke their own record from 1927, and so from that point of view, it's unbelievable. And on Monday, it was a pretty straightforward win. I mean, there was only ever going to be one result. Rovers were just a level above Waterford. So from that stage, it's nothing. If I want to be slightly critical of Rovers this season, I don't think they're the same team as last season. Now, having said that, I think they're going to win the league, and I can't see anybody else winning the league. I think Pats have made an incredible start. We can go on and talk about them. I think Rovers still look the best team in the league. But I think this season, it has been a case of grinding out results. I mean, to keep this record going, they needed a last gasp equaliser at home to Pats on the first day. They went behind in Sligo with less than 10 minutes to go, and still came out with a draw. Now, that says an awful lot to me about the character of the side, just the whole ethos of the squad. And it's just a winning mentality, or we shall not lose. So that is very good, and it's great to watch. And as from Stephen Bradley's point of view, he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, in some ways, God help everybody else if they do start firing and they do start playing really well and blowing teams away. But I don't think they've been doing that yet this season. Even if you take the wins in Drogheda, the wins over Longford, okay, they were still going to be unbeaten, but they needed, again, last-minute goals. So they are the best team in the league. They're rightly top of the league. But I think there's a lot more to come. And in some ways, that I don't mean to be critical of a team that's our top of the league, but I think they can get a lot better. And in some ways, then, as I said, that's a bit ominous for the rest of the league. But hats off to them. 31 games unbeaten is some achievement. And but there are some tests coming up in this round of matches. They have to go to Oriel Park. They're going to Pats on Saturday, which is a real test. They still got to go to Oriel Park, and they still got to go to Dalymount Park. So there will be some tricky games ahead. But look, well done, Rovers, and deservedly top of the league after the first series of games.
Yeah, I'm also meant kind of as a collective in that 31 game run. I mean, some of the players that they've had at their disposal and some of the football they've played at times has been exceptional. And I appreciate this season, maybe they haven't gone up the levels that probably they were at last season, but it worries me for the teams in the league that maybe they have a few levels to go up and a few gears to go up in the next maybe round of games or so, because you got to remember they did bring in a lot of new players like McCann, Gannon, Hoare, Mandrell. Now Mandrell's probably done the best of those transfers, and I'm sure I'm forgetting other people, like players like Rory Gaffney, who probably didn't do that well last season, or probably didn't get a look in as much last season, is now stepping up this year. You've got Richie Towell coming in as well. So they have players that, as well as obviously taking their time to settle in, and then they've got quality players coming through as well. So I think for other people, they need to be very wary. Now, there's obviously a massive game between Pats and Rovers this week, which I think will tell us a lot in terms of where Pats are at, and I think where Shamrock Rovers are at. But even still saying that, like, I put out a post on Instagram yesterday just how good they've actually been, and they've been a joy to watch at times. Now, I know you said about growing up results, and maybe so that's this season, but still, they have been really good on the eye. Like, I do 100% recommend to anyone who may not follow the League of Ireland that is maybe getting into starting to watch the games, watch one of their games, just because in terms of in-game management and changing things up, they're always changing systems throughout the games. It's just a clever team, like just really, really intellectually smart on the pitch and stuff like that, and just coached and drilled really well. And I do think that when fans get back, that they must go to Tala and watch this team, because I do think that if they can keep adding quality players to obviously what they've already had, they have a good young side as well as mixed experience in there. And I do think that they'll only get better from here on in. And people say about lack of quality in the league and stuff like that, but if you go and watch them, and I would say Dundalk will get back to that level soon, but just right now they're obviously in that kind of transition period where they're trying to get new players in. And I know a lot of Dundalk fans are getting very frustrated the fact that we're talking about Shamrock Rovers being this great side at the moment, but like, it's up to Dundalk to get back to those levels, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, Dundalk aren't at those levels, and you can clearly see the difference. Definitely take your point about playing great football. They are a joy to watch, and Stephen Bradley does want his team passing the ball, and that's what they do. Now, they've lost two key players from last season in midfield, in Jack Byrne and Aaron McAneff, but they have brought in the likes of Chris McCann, as you said. Sean Gannon, I think, has done incredibly well. Although you're probably right that Denny Mandreo is the standout of the new players. Rory Gaffney was injured for much of last season, so that's why he didn't get a look in. But I mean, he's got 3 goals already this season, and he is flying. And interesting you mentioned the change of system as well, because they played 2 strikers at home to Waterford, which you typically don't see Shamrock Rovers play. They normally just play with 1 up top, but they started with Aaron Green and Rory Gaffney up top on Monday, and it worked really well. Now, they had to, unfortunately, Aaron Green went off injured. Now, that's the one caveat I would have. Aaron Green went off. It looked a bad injury. I haven't heard any more since, and they have a very good squad, but you have to get concerned about injuries. And really, unfortunately, was Neil Ferrugia went off injured, having come off the bench his first game in about 6 months. He'd been out with a really bad hamstring injury, and it looked like he was feeling his hamstring again. And that did not look good, because he had looked really good when he came back. He made a fantastic run, almost set up a goal. It should have been a goal, actually. He put it on a plate. But he went down. He just seemed to go down a few seconds after that, holding his hamstring. And I really hope he's okay, because he's a quality player, and Rovers would have been delighted to get him back. But that did not look good. So it was a very easy win on Monday. It was a comfortable 3 points. But those couple of injuries, despite the big squad they have, will be a concern.
Yeah, well, obviously we want to wish Neil well in recovery. He's a great lad, as well as obviously being a great player. So hoping that, you know, he can overcome this and have the mental strength to overcome this as well. And because he's been tipped for really big things, but his problem is his injury record. So hopefully he can get over this and get back to playing the best football. Because again, we mentioned the Shamrock Rovers squad there, and you know, him out of the squad, you've got Sean Kavanagh there. They've nearly got 2 players for every position, I would say, and I think that shows when they can bring off quality off the bench, and I think that's shown throughout the season. But
even Max Murphy started. He's a young player, and he was with the Rovers 2 last season, and he looked really good. I mean, Neil, he started in the left wing back position, if you like, where Neil Ferrugia normally plays. And as you said, Sean Kavanagh, they have so many options. But Max looks a good player now as well. There is some conveyor belt out in Roadstone there, bringing players through, and they've consistently been one of the best at underage as well. So certainly things are looking very bright in Tala at the moment, and I just echo what you said. If you're not regularly watching this league, and hopefully there are signs fans will get back in July, I would definitely recommend going to Tala and just watching some good football, and in a lovely modern stadium as well.
Yeah, and if you can't do it, maybe watch it on watchloi.ie as well. Then I suppose, moving on down the league, not far, but just down the league, St. Pat's. Obviously, Jerry was giving me stick last week, saying that Shamrock Rovers were in the top of the league. They are now. And Pats are in second on 21 points, 2 points behind Shamrock Rovers. But look, I mean, they had 2 games over the break as well, or over the long weekend. So they bet Longford 3-0. Ronan Coughlin and Chris Forrester with a double. And then they got a last-minute equaliser against Sligo, with Ian Birmingham scoring a late dramatic header and running off celebrating with Stephen O'Donnell. But are these games that I suppose maybe last year St. Pat's probably would have lost? You know, that game against Sligo, they probably wouldn't have got that equaliser. And another thing I might put to you, Gary, as well, is Chris Forrester back to his very best?
Definitely. That's one of the real highlights of the season for Pats. That Chris Forrester, last season he didn't look the player he used to be when he was in this league before he went off across channel to Peterborough. He looks a real player this season, and on his day before he went away, he was the best player in the league, and it looks like he's back in that form. What a goal. I mean, there's a video of the goal against Longford, just taken from behind the goal, and it's well worth a watch. And he really is, he's just got that bit of quality. But in general, Stephen O'Donnell has done a fantastic job with Pats, because a lot of the players he's picked up have been, in some ways you can say, Dundalk rejects, the likes of Robbie Benson and them, the players that were let go by.
Because they served Dundalk well.
They did serve Dundalk well, but they were players that they decided they could do without. And Stephen O'Donnell has put together a superb squad there, and his first 11 is probably on a par and an ability to compete with anyone else in the league. I think the problem will be, you mentioned Rovers having 2 players for every position. I don't think Pats have that. They had to take a couple of chances with playing squad players and getting results, and they got away with it. But I think over a season, when injuries, suspensions, a lot of these midweeks, a 36-game season is really, really tough. And you throw in all these midweek games, and they're going to start taking its toll. So that's why I don't see Pats challenging for the title, even though they're only 2 points off, and you couldn't fault anything they've done this season. They've been absolutely superb, and that was a brilliant point to score so late in the showgrounds. And maybe they could very easily leave me with egg in my face on Saturday by beating Rovers, and that wouldn't shock me. But I think over 36 games, I can't see them mounting a challenge for the title. But certainly they're going to be right up there in the European places, and that's a phenomenal achievement, and Stephen O'Donnell's done a brilliant job, and they should be absolutely delighted with their start to the season.
I think with Pats, it's going to tell this weekend. I think the game against Shamrock Rovers at home, I think that's a game that's going to tell us what we need to know. I mean, Sligo as well, still going strong, but like Pats and Shamrock Rovers right now are the teams to beat because of obviously where they are in the league. And I think Pats are there on merit. I don't think they've been lucky in games. They have actually played very well. And looking at their team, you said there about, playing players, squad players or whatever. I don't think it was, they got away with it. I think it was, they got the reward for the risk. I mean, players like Darragh Burns came in and he scored goals and helped them win games. Like the game against Waterford. That was, look, you don't risk that, you don't get the reward. So I think players like him have stepped up and shown that they can come in and do a job if needs be. And in fairness, Darragh Burns is a very young lad, and Stephen O'Donnell has put the faith in a lot of the younger lads as well. Obviously, he's surrounded them with really good quality pros around them. He's got the best out of Chris Forrester. And as you say, I think he deserves massive credit for, I suppose if you even go back to just before Stephen O'Donnell came in, and they always had a quality side, but they just never seemed to be able to grind out results or score the goals. Now they seem to be adding the goals and having that, I suppose, bit of grit to. I know, look, they were behind against Sligo or whatever, but they showed the grit and determination to get back into the game, and a bit like Shamrock Rovers in terms of that determination to make sure they got the equaliser right down to the last minute. I think they've gone up a level this season, and I think they'll continue to keep going the way they're going. I know Pats fans are afraid to say that they're in the title race, or they're afraid to be. They're afraid to basically say anything in case they mock it up or jinx where they are in the league and stuff like that. But I just think they've been that good that I don't think they need to worry. I think he's bought really well. He's bought smartly. The likes of Ronan Coughlin coming in from Sligo, funny enough, he's been quality for them as well. I think the goals and contributions, 2 goals from him between goals and assists, I think that shows as well. And look, I think that they'll continue to go on, but I think this weekend is the game that will tell all. I think from there on in, if they can get a result against Shamrock Rovers, I think it's on then from there on in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of points. I take your point about the likes of Darragh Burns, and they have good young players. Pats are another team that have been doing really well under 17 and under 19 years, or age groups in recent years. But I've just got the team sheet here from Tala in front of me. And if you look at the Rovers' first 11, the only one you'd say that isn't kind of a proven League of Ireland starter is Max Murphy. I mean, but they had made quite a few changes. But then you go to the Rovers bench. And now, bear in mind, I think Stephen Bradley picked this team with an eye to the Pats game on Saturday. And given the fact they had gone to Ballybofey on Friday, look at the bench. You've Pico Lopez, you've Ronan Finn, you've Graham Burke, you've Neil Farrugia, you've Chris McCann and Joey O'Brien. Now, they are automatic starters in virtually any other team in the league. Now, I appreciate some of them are automatic starters for Rovers. But, okay, you didn't have Joey O'Brien and Pico Lopez in the back three. The Rovers' back three was Sean Hoare, Lee Grace and Liam Scales. I mean, the 5 of those, they play with 3 at the back. Any 3 from those 5 are just quality players. And I think that's the difference, that Rovers can cope with an injury or a suspension. They could miss 2 of those and still have a quality back 3. Yeah, so I mean, Joey O'Brien and Pico Lopez were the backup for Sean Hoare, Lee Grace and Liam Scales. I mean,
I see what you're saying. Gary, and I do agree. Like they definitely have a much better squad. But I think if Pats can keep going with the momentum, I still don't see why they can't challenge, especially top 2. 100% think they'll finish top 3 now. But they should be aiming to fight Shamrock Rovers at the top of the league for as long as they can. They probably won't get a better chance.
I really hope they do, because I really want to see a title race, and we can go on and talk about Dundalk. I really hope they do, and it would be great for the league, because the last thing you want is the procession that Rovers had last season. It was great for Rovers fans, but not great for neutrals or fans of the league. So I really hope Pats do challenge. But my concern would be just injuries and suspensions will eventually take their toll. But I do expect Pats to be in the top 2 or 3, certainly, this season. I think they're nailed on to qualify for Europe. And despite all the bad luck and everything over the years, I know they finally ended at hoodoo in the FAI Cup, but who knows, there could be an outside bet for the FAI Cup this year.
Yeah, especially because it would be in a one-off game. I think you're right in what you're saying, and I think time will only tell with Pats. But look, I just want to see something that goes to the wire, because obviously Dundalk are not firing on all cylinders even still, and they're, you know, I've been hearing rumours that David Healy's going to become manager and stuff like that there. So they're still very much in a transition. That's not confirmed or denied as well right now, filming it anyway. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But we'll come to them in a little bit. But moving on, just Sligo. 2 draws. Are we starting to see maybe a little bit of a slip, or see a bit of a reality check with Sligo that, yeah, they are in contention for European places, but maybe not top 2 material for the moment? You got to remember, they're still very much a work in progress. A lot of new players come in there, and they still have brought in good quality and stuff like that. But I just think maybe I know people were tipping them to stay in the title race, but I mean, after the weekend's games, I think they're down to 3rd on 16 points, which is 5 away from St. Pat's now, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 3 games, because the defeat at home to Derry City was a big blow to them, because they had been unbeaten prior to that. And then they won't have been happy with the draw in Drogheda, and then to be caught again in the 95th minute. I think it was, I know the Sligo fans aren't too happy, because whatever number of minimum minutes of added time were shown, the goal was scored well after that. I'd have to check back on the figures, but I saw a lot of unhappy Sligo fans on social media over that. But I don't know about I think realistically, Sligo would have been delighted if they finished this season in the European places. And I would expect them, given the start they have, given the quality of players, the likes of, look, they've just done so well. They had their little bit of a blip. I still think they're strong candidates to finish in the top 3 or 4. If they had a really good run, maybe second, but I don't see them in the title race. But I definitely see them in the race for European football. And now, key game for them, they go to Oriel Park. A key game for both teams, actually. I mean, Dundalk, Sligo at the weekend is... certainly, Sligo wouldn't want to lose that, given the run they're on, but certainly Dundalk would probably desperately need a win, given their patchy form as of late. And still, as we speak, no new manager, although you probably saw the same rumours that I did about David Healy taking charge in time for the Shamrock Rovers game. I'm not so sure about that. There were a lot of very unhappy Linfield fans when the Dundalk journalist put that out on Twitter. And they were rubbishing it and saying, I think it's the date of the Irish Cup final or something, which Linfield are still in the Irish Cup and could well be in the Cup final that day. But who knows? I'm just following the rumours on social media. But Dundalk certainly do need a manager. But from Sligo perspective, despite that blip, I still think they've only lost one game all season. And I still think they'll be very happy with the start and definitely in contention for the European spots.
Yeah, but isn't it crazy to think that Finn Harps are just 2 points behind them and sitting in 4th? I just think that's great. In a good way, it's brilliant.
It's brilliant. It is absolute. And I'm sitting here in red and white candy stripes, but obviously not Derry City's. But the story of the weekend for me was Adam Foley and Finn Harps winning in the Brandywell. It's their first ever, and I will get this stat right, it's their first ever league win in the Brandywell. I know they won in McGinn Park, and I know they've won, I think it's League Cup games in the Brandywell. But in the whatever number of years since 1985 that Derry City have been in the league, and I know Harps and Derry haven't always been in the same division, but Harps have never gone to the Brandywell and won a league game there. And what a way to do it, to be a goal down and come back and equalise, and Adam Foley to get that winner, 2 minutes to go. And what a finish. That guy is absolutely flying. He is scoring goals for fun. And he's an absolute hero up in Donegal. And I saw one male Finn Harps fan tweet Adam's girlfriend, can he borrow Adam for a night? She wasn't too, I don't know. Anyway, I won't name Ethan just to embarrass him, but it was... what a goal. And the Harps fans are going mad over that. And look, it was absolutely fantastic. It was a brilliant win. Hats off to them. And hats off to the start to the season they've had. As you said, they're sitting in 4th place. No matter what happens this weekend, they won't be any lower than 4th because they're 4 points ahead of 5th place already. Made a phenomenal start. I know I've talked a lot on this show about how good a job Ollie Horgan and Paul Hegarty are doing there. But it just has to be said, it is absolutely phenomenal. And the budget they're on with the part-time players, they are doing so much better than many teams with far bigger budgets. And it's just... hats off to them. It's been absolutely phenomenal. The Finn Harps fans are absolutely delighted, and so they should be. And I saw Ollie Horgan being asked about Europe, and he said, the only Europe he's going to get is a trip to Kilkee. Well, I mean, I'm hoping to spend some time in Kilkee like many Limerick people do in the summertime, but I don't think I'll be seeing Ollie Horgan there. Who knows? I wouldn't rule out Europe next season for Finn Harps, but... what a phenomenal start. And they are definitely not in the relegation zone or relegation battle, no matter what Ollie's saying about getting the points to stay up. They will be staying up comfortably. I don't know if they can get a European place. They could certainly be capable of challenging for it. But what a start to the season. What a first round of matches. And Harps fans are in many ways are the story of the season and the story of the weekend. You can talk about Shamrock Rovers' 31 game unbeaten run, which is absolutely phenomenal, and they're clearing the top of the table. But in many ways, even Finn Harps and Adam Foley are close enough to being the story of the weekend. And what a goal. And anyway, brilliant for Finn Harps, and just what a shame there weren't fans in the Brandywell on Monday night, because that would have been absolutely phenomenal. And I can only imagine he put it into the down by the away end and all, and instead of jumping over the hoardings and running to the Derry fans up on the wall, I don't know, maybe there were some Finn Harps fans on that wall as well. I'm sure he would have been running straight to the away end, and there would have been some celebrations, and that would have been something else. But look, Harps for me, what a story, what a first round of games, and well done.
And it was important for them to get back on track, because don't forget, this was a Derry side coming in off 2 wins against Sligo and Bohs, and as well as that, Finn Harps had just lost to Shamrock Rovers as well. So it was a much bigger result than probably they get credit for, to be able to turn them over. And look, Derry would have been coming in on a high after getting those 2 results, and then they're probably brought back down to earth with a bit of a bang after their new manager bounce, you know.
Yeah, they got a great start under Rory Higgins, as you said. They went to the showgrounds, beat Sligo, went to Dalymount Park and beat Bohs. So there were 2 results that were probably unexpected. And then they're looking, right, we got Finn Harps at home, we've got Longford at home to come. Suddenly you're on a 4 or 5 game winning run. The other thing, actually,
anyway,
yeah, and certainly the other thing, had Derry won by 2 goals, I was actually looking at the league table before the Harps game came on, and I was saying, if Derry win by 2 goals, they actually go 4th. And then they went 1 up, and you're thinking, right, Rory Higgins he's turned this around from being bottom of the league to 4th place to being, and 4th is probably a European place, assuming one of the top 3 win the FAI Cup. So it's, you're looking at phenomenal turnaround. Now, he's still turned them around pretty well, but that defeat by Harps will be a bitter blow for the Derry City fans to take, because it is a big Northwest derby up there, and it's not often Harps get to crow about wins over Derry City. Wherever the games are played, Derry seem to have a bit of an Indian sign over them. So I'm sure the Harps fans are going to enjoy it. I think Derry have turned it around. Now, there are some young players there. Rory Higgins may look to get some players in the summer, but from being, I don't think they're going to get dragged back into that relegation battle that it looked like they were in a couple of weeks ago. I do expect them to probably beat Longford this weekend, and I think they'll be comfortable in mid-table. They're currently sitting in 8th, which is the crazy thing. They're 3rd from bottom, but had they beaten Harps by 2 goals, as I said, they would have been 4th. So they are still probably looking over their shoulder, and in some ways, you're looking at the Longford game. They could actually go bottom this weekend. That's the crazy thing about it. If Longford win in the Brandywell and Waterford beat Drogheda. But I don't see Derry being dragged into that relegation battle. I do think there's just that bit of quality. I think Rory Higgins will get the best out of them. And just the squad of players they have, they're too good to be in the relegation battle.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. No, obviously, we're trying to keep it within the league table or whatever, so you've kind of spoken about Derry, so we'll probably skip them when we get down to them. But just Drogheda are sitting in 5th on 10 points, and I suppose all these teams are kind of in and around the same. I know Drogheda are ahead of most of them in 5th, but a lot of teams are kind of within each other in and around that spot, you know. So, but Drogheda deserve massive credit for the way they've come in and started. I mean, they got 2 draws against 2 decent sides there. You know, the game against Sligo and the game against Bohs, and they're 2 results that you probably would have said at the start of the season you probably see them losing.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you just go back before that, they were done in the 95th minute by Danny Mandreo against Shamrock Rovers. They only lost 2-1 to Dundalk in Oriel Park. So Drogheda made an incredible start, and I'm sure Drogheda fans will want me to point out, if you look at the league table, they may be on 10 points, the same as Dundalk, but they are ahead of Dundalk on goal difference, maybe 1 goal. But that's incredible stat for Drogheda, who, again, are a part-time team on a much lower budget than the likes of Dundalk. So they've made a phenomenal start, picked up a couple of crucial wins. Their target probably at the start of the season would have been 8th or 9th place. And they're probably comfortably clear of the relegation zone as I speak, but it could be very different after this weekend. That's why their trip to the RSC is so crucial this weekend. But because I don't want to say they're out of there. I think Finn Harps are out of it, and I think Derry will get out of the relegation battle. I'm not so sure yet about Drogheda, but they have to be so pleased with their start to the season, the way they've even stayed in games. So even I mentioned the games they lost last season, you would have expected the likes of Drogheda. I know they came up last season, but even before that, it would have been a comfortable enough win for Shamrock Rovers. But they had to battle to 95th minute. Dundalk just beat them by the odd goal. They got really good draws. Okay, they came back a bit and got a late goal to get the point against Bohs. A good point against Sligo as well. And that's a very good sign of the side that they're able to stay in these games. They're battling. They're picking up points here and there. And so the Drogheda fans will absolutely be delighted with the start and where they are in the table in 5th place. I don't think they can finish in the top half. Having said that, I think it's been a great achievement to stay in the top half of the table after the first round of matches. I do expect them to slip down a couple of places, but they'll be a tough game for anyone they meet. And I think they will definitely avoid the bottom two if they keep, which realistically has got to be their target. But if they keep playing the way they're playing, they just got that bit of quality and just that bit of togetherness to pick up points when others will struggle.
Yeah, but I think as you said, it's the squad they have. They have an experienced squad there. You know, you have your likes of Gary Deegan, you have your Dane Massey's, Deanie Corcoran's and stuff like that to mix in with what they already have. They've a good side there.
Ronan Murray as well. Yeah.
So they have players that are experienced at this level as well. And look, they look like they're comfortable at this level as well. So I wouldn't say they're struggling. Definitely not. I think they've held their own in games, as you say, against sides that you probably would expect them to turn them over, especially if you're looking at the start of the season. But look, they've done great now. Just to move it down in terms of the league position, but maybe not in terms of points. Obviously, we just spoke a little bit about Dundalk, but I mean, I don't know whether they're coming or going. I mean, they beat Waterford 3-0, and then they go and they concede 2 goals to Longford and have to fight back and earn a 2-2 draw at Bishopsgate on Monday. And because you're looking at the Waterford game, you're thinking, right, they're getting into, they're moving up the gears now. This is the Dundalk of old. They're starting to show what they had. Their quality players are starting to step up now. And then they just go and I suppose 2 goalkeeping errors was the reason why they conceded 2 against Longford. But even still, I wasn't expecting them to go 2-0 down against Longford at all.
No, I mean, I thought they had turned a bit of a corner. They had to grind out the win over Drogheda a bit, but it was deserved, and they deserved to win that game. And then they did go down. Maybe the 3-0 result in the RSC flattered them a bit because Waterford did have a bit of a go in that game. And Waterford were probably better against Dundalk than they were in losing 3-0 in Tala. But I fully expected Dundalk to go to Bishopsgate and beat Longford, and to go 2 down and then to have to battle back. I mean, if you go 2 down against any team in this league, you're up against your backs are up against the wall. So they probably did okay, to come back and get a point, but really, away to Longford is a game that the likes of Dundalk would be expected to go down there and win, and even with a little bit to spare, and it'll be a major disappointment to them that they couldn't do that. They're 13 points off Shamrock Rovers, and their target this season would have been to win the league. And I think the gap, they might make up some of that gap over the next 3 rounds, but I can't see them making up 13 points. And their title race is probably already done. And it's probably looking, when they get the new manager in, I do think they need the new manager fairly soon. The aim will be to get back in at least up into the European spots and maybe have a bit of a run in the Europa Conference, this new European tournament. But it's been a very disappointing first round of matches for Dundalk, and you can't sugarcoat this. They can't be happy. They are giving away bad goals. You said a couple of goalkeeping errors from Peter Cherry. He doesn't look like the keeper he was a few years ago. They've had issues with the other goalkeeper. I think maybe a new goalkeeper is going to be one of the top priorities for a new manager. I know all they can sign at the moment is an out-of-work professional, but certainly come July, they must be looking for a new goalkeeper. I saw them linked before with Brian Murphy of Waterford. He'd certainly be a very good signing. He's not in the Waterford squad at the moment. Or maybe look further afield. We'll touch. But maybe look further afield. But certainly there are issues in Dundalk. They need to start picking up points. They need to start moving up the table. And I know the Dundalk fans are not happy. And I think the new manager can't come quick enough.
Yeah, no, I would agree, and a new goalkeeper as well. I think, look, they need to get everything in place before the mid-season break, and that way they can, have the manager in. He wants to get his own players in, and then they can move forward that way. But for the time being, like you're thinking, oh yeah, Dundalk are back. That's great to see, and then the next minute that happens. It's just unfortunate. I'd say their fans are fuming from going from the side that looked unbeatable, probably a season ago before COVID, to what they've, I suppose, fallen down to at the moment is I'd be fuming if I was a Dundalk fan, and they still have really quality players there. I still think Chris Shields is the best player in that position in the league. They've got Michael Duffy, who's obviously top class in this league. Pat Hubens, obviously he's injured at the minute, but you know what, he's unbelievable. Best striker in the league in my opinion as well. And then you got David McMillan as well, who comes in off the bench and I know he's probably starting now because of that injury to Pat Hubin. They've got Junior and other players as well, so they've got quality players all round. I suppose just the goalkeeper situation is a big one for them. I mean, I suppose that shows the importance of Gary Rogers, but as well as that, the fact that they let big players go. They let the likes of Gannon go to Shamrock Rovers. They let Sean Hoare go there. They let Dane Massey go. They let a lot of their defence and goalkeeper go, and any side that are doing well or whatever is usually built off that, and then it's worked their way forward into attack or whatever. So I think maybe they're just getting used to stuff. I do think the likes of Nadestad and Jurkovskis are really good signings, and they will, as time goes on, I think they'll get better and they'll get more settled. They still have quality players there, Andy Boyle and so on, Dan Cleary. They still have top class players, Darragh Leahy. But it's just time for them to start kicking on now, and I think they really need to start doing that in the next round of games and get themselves, right back up at least into the European places. I don't think it would be a disaster if they finish in the European places, but if they finish outside the European places, you look at the squad and the budget they have compared to other teams, it would be an absolute disaster if they don't finish in that top 4 spot. Regardless of whether they get into Europe or not through this Conference League, they still need to climb the league and do well domestically as well, not just think of Europe. And I'm sure they've have plans in place there. Jim Magilton seems like a very smart fella, so I'm sure he's already looking at all that. But I suppose just to kind of finish off the last kind of couple of teams and stuff like that in the league, I mean, you've got Bows, Longford, Waterford, and obviously you've got Derry in there that we already spoke about. But I suppose we'll just touch on Bows very quickly, and then we'll talk about Longford and Waterford. But Bows, I mean, just when you think they turn a corner, and then they've had just disappointing results, unfortunately for them. And look, I don't think it's anything on the manager or something like that. They've a lot of young players in there at the moment, and I think they're just finding their feet. And I think over the course of the season, it'll balance themselves out, and I think they'll work their way back up. But I think they were the biggest losers in the summer in terms of the players that they lost. You got Danny Grants, Dan Mandreo, Andre Wright, Chris Twardek.
Even if you go back to Chris Twardek, yeah, exactly.
So many players that they had to replace that were, it's so hard to replace goals. And, when you had top class players, and I do think they're top class. I mean, you don't play for the clubs that they're at, maybe not Andre Wright, but the others. You don't play for the clubs that they've gone on to play for if you're not quality. So, yeah, look, I think that they've struggled in that regard, but they still have players. I mean, you look at Dawson Devoy, everyone was talking about his assist against Drogheda for Liam Burt's goal, and I do think he will only get better over the course of the season. Another very young lad. You've got Ross Tierney there, another very good coming through, up and coming good lad. They've got good players coming through. I just think they'll need to just get experience themselves over the course of the season, mixed in with obviously they have the likes of Keith Buckley who brings bags of experience and stuff like that. But these younger lads. A lot of people have said that they've really missed Dan Casey as well at the back, because they have been leaking a lot of goals that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And I know James Talbot is a great leader and obviously a great goalkeeper as well, but he's been looking kind of exposed because of his defence, not because of his goalkeeping issues. I just think that he doesn't look to be getting much protection, whereas I think when Dan Casey was there, I think they looked like they were going to go out most weeks and get clean sheets.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a disappointing start for Bose. But as you said, you mentioned all the players. I think Dan Casey in particular is a massive loss for them. But all the front players. Now, Keith Long has done an incredible job there. He's had to replace his squad virtually every summer for the last couple of years. And they overachieved in the last couple of years in getting into Europe, and then last season getting second. So I think of all managers in the league, he has to be given time, because he is on a smaller budget than a lot of the teams above them. And you mentioned some great young players coming through, like Dustin Devoy, Ross Tierney, Liam Burt. They have, I think Keith Long will get it right, and with Trevor Crowley beside him, I think they will do. They will get Bose right. It may take more than this season. This could be the season when they miss out in Europe that they've got used to for the last. I mean, they're playing in Europe this year, but maybe they'll miss out on it this season. It may be a season of consolidation, but I hope the Bose fans will show some patience. And I did see quite a lot of unrest on social media. And while I would be more sympathetic to the Dundalk fans or even the Derry City fans prior to Rory Higgins arriving, I would have less sympathy for the Bose fans in this case. I think they should give Keith Long and Trevor Crowley some time. They've done a phenomenal job there, and I think they will get it right. I don't see Bose. I know they're sitting. What are they sitting? 2 points above the relegation zone. If things go wrong this weekend, they could end up actually in the relegation zone. I think they could be bottom if the results went against them. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think Bose will probably move up the table a little bit, but maybe not challenge for Europe. Who knows? Maybe get a run in the cup. But I hope and I think Keith Long will be given the time, and maybe Bose will be someone to watch out for next season. I hope there will be some patience shown, and I think there will. I think it's a well-run club. It's a members-run club. They don't have the budget of the Shamrock Rovers, of the Dundalks, or even the Derry Cities, or even the St. Pat's. So I hope Bose fans will be patient and realistic. It has been a bit of a disappointing start. Have been some disappointed. They would have expected to beat Drogheda this weekend, and to be caught so late doesn't help. They probably would have expected to have done better at home to Derry. But look, I would definitely expect the Bose board will be patient with Keith Long, and they should be.
Yeah, I think they have to be. I think if you look at it realistically, who's going to come in there and do a better job at what he's done? I'm sure if they look at the money that he's brought the club in terms of the players he's brought through, developed and sold on, because that seems to be the kind of model that they're going for at the moment. I don't think you'll get anybody better at doing that right now. I think he's a great coach. I think if anybody was actually looking to get a coach in now, I think Dundalk should be really looking at him as the ideal candidate. But I know I wouldn't say they are, but I definitely think he would be the ideal in terms of someone who deserves it, who's worked hard in the league and has overachieved massively over time. I don't know why more people aren't touting him for the job, but look, maybe he doesn't want to go. Maybe he's happy at Bose. He seems quite happy at Bose. They seem to be building something there for the future, and he seems to be a very key part of it. But I suppose just the last two teams to touch on, Longford and Waterford. I mean, Longford always look like they're down and out, and then they pull out, or at least they go ahead in games, and ultimately they then, unfortunately, they're probably just so under the cosh that eventually the pressure tolls and they end up conceding late goals. But they've shown, I suppose, a bit of resolve and a bit of fight against the bigger teams, and I think that they'll continue to do that. But I just don't think that they have maybe the squad depth of quality. Maybe you look at substitutes and stuff like that to come in and maybe step up to the plate when they need them to,
Yeah, Longford, look, they probably surprised a lot of people. They surprised me, and maybe even surprised themselves by getting promotion last season through the playoffs. So they've done incredibly well. they've now gone 8 games without a win. They had a great start beating Derry on the opening weekend. But as you said, Paul, they have shown a lot of grit and determination. They've stayed in games. They've picked up points. And look, they're level on 6 points with Waterford. They're in the bottom 2. I can't see them finishing the season any higher than they are at the moment. But even still, if they were to make the playoff spot, which they're in at the moment, I think that would be a phenomenal achievement for them and give them a good chance of staying up. But they are going to need to pick up the odd win here and there. And because this points, okay, they got a good point at Dalymount, got a good point at home to Dundalk. But they're going to need to start picking up the odd win or two. But they'll battle. They have a limited squad, as you say, and it is a very, very tough league. And maybe they're the kind of team that maybe start needing to pick games and pick their battles and target games for wins. And okay, maybe it's a bit cynical of me to say that some games you can maybe look at and say, well, we're not going to get anything there. And just as I'm saying that, I'm thinking, well, hang on a second. They drew with Dundalk and they drew with Bohs. They came within seconds of getting a draw with Shamrock Rovers. So maybe they are suited to playing more of the bigger teams. But they certainly, this round of matches, when the likes of Waterford come to Bishopsgate, that's one they're going to be targeting as a must win. But I think Longford will be reasonably okay, even though they've gone 8 games without a win. They would have expected to be probably bottom or second bottom of the table at this stage. They're probably expecting to be finishing in those positions. And if they can finish second bottom, going into the playoffs again, having done so well in them last season, going in battle hardened, they still have a good shot at staying up, which realistically has to be the target.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think just then to touch on Waterford as well. I mean, obviously they lost to Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers. I think the interesting thing here is with the substitutes and the fact that Kevin Sheedy wouldn't play, or he said he wouldn't play any academy players just due to the fact that they wouldn't get any protection off the referees. He said that in an interview. I think it was with RTE, and then what was it? Then Brian Murphy again, still not in the squad. And then after the social media blackout, they then post a picture of Brian Murphy. I don't really understand it, but we spoke about this last week on the show. They're never far away from drama down there for some reason. I don't know why. Because I know Kevin Sheedy's not that type of guy. He doesn't like drama. He just wants to get on with the football and try to do things. I think that's why he's quite short and direct with his interviews and stuff like that. And people are just down in Waterford. I see it all over Twitter. They're all going mad. Why is Brian Murphy being treated this way? Like, it would just be nice to get a bit of clarity of what's actually going on, because I definitely think Brian Murphy could be a player that would help Waterford get out of this mess. He's arguably the best goalkeeper in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I was mentioning him already as a solution to the Dundalk goalkeeping crisis. I don't know if Waterford, I mean, the young lad, Paul Martin, who played against Shamrock Rovers, I don't think he had a bad game on Monday. But Brian Murphy is a quality keeper, and as you said, probably one of the best in the league. And he certainly would help if he was back in the Waterford side, just even that bit of experience as well. But look, the bottom of the league, in many ways, they're probably a little bit fortunate that win they held on for, that 1-0 win over Longford in the RSC a couple of weeks ago, is looking really crucial at this stage, that they're level on points at the bottom instead of being cut adrift. It's going to be a very, very long season for Waterford unless things change. I don't agree with not naming the under-19s on the bench. Why not? I mean, they're playing under-19 football. They surely aspire to be playing in the League of Ireland. It's not exactly an old players' league. There are many seasoned pros in the league, but there's a hell of a lot of younger players. For me, the average age of the league seems to be getting younger and younger. Maybe it's because I'm getting older and older, but it does seem to be very much. It does seem to be very much a younger players' league at the moment. So why not have some of those under-19s on the bench? I mean, Shamrock Rovers did it. I was talking earlier about Shamrock Rovers and the quality of the squad and the quality of the players. I didn't mention the likes of Darren Nugent and Dean Williams, who were also on the bench and who made a contribution as well. So there's, if Shamrock Rovers can bring their young players, the likes of Max Murphy, through, why can't Waterford do likewise? So I don't know. I think maybe Kevin Sheedy's trying to make some bit of a point there or something by leaving them out. And look, you can't really sugarcoat this. This has been a very, very disappointing start to the season for Waterford. I don't think Kevin Sheedy and Mike Newell can be happy. I know seems to be a lot of issues there behind the scenes. And they're bottom for a reason. And it is a very tough league. There are no easy games. And Waterford at home to Drogheda this weekend is absolutely crucial. Because Drogheda are a tough team. They're playing really well. And they'll be looking at this. They bet them in the last minute, and it was maybe a bit lucky in the opening game because the last minute own goal, but it was a game that Drogheda dominated. So I'll caveat by saying they were lucky to score and score so late, but probably not lucky to win that game. But Drogheda are well capable of going down to the RSC and beating Waterford. Now Waterford could be looking and saying, well, if we win, we could move up 3 or 4 places if other results go their way. So even with 27 games to go, games like that are starting to look really crucial. And but it's been a very disappointing start for Waterford. They're and they don't look like a team. I mean, they were blown away by Shamrock Rovers on Monday, and Rovers had made quite a few changes. I know Stephen Bradley wasn't too happy when I said to him he used a few squad players because they're all Shamrock Rovers players, and I do take his point on that. But he took a bit of a chance against Waterford, and it didn't matter because they just blew them away. Pats took a bit of a chance against Waterford as well, and they got away with it. I think they won 1-0 and deserved to win 1-0 a couple of weeks ago, but it was a bit more of a risk for Pats. I don't think it was any real risk for Stephen Bradley, and they were just blown away by Shamrock Rovers. It was just a comfortable, and it was so obvious from early in the game, even before the first goal went in, that this was going to be a comfortable 3 or 4-0 win for Rovers. And if they really wanted to, and if they really went at them, I'd be afraid that they could have got any kind of a score. So it is tough times for Waterford, the only Munster team in the Premier Division. So maybe it's not good times for football in Munster, although I'm very happy with the way Treaty United are going in the First Division. But it's not good times for football in Waterford, and they are very, very much in a relegation battle. And if things don't change, I can't see them staying up. Now, it can be turned around, and but it's... well, we'll see what happens. I don't know. What do you think, Paul?
Well, I think no matter who comes in there at the moment, they seem to be just given a poison chalice. And, you know, as soon as they come in, they're kind of up against the battle straight away. And I think that's been the case. You look at John Sheridan, you know, managers before them. Probably the only one who you wouldn't say it was a poison chalice for is probably Alan Reynolds. I mean, I think he done a good, solid job there, got them up. And then he was just kind of like, I had enough. I went away from it. But, you know, when he was bringing them through and stuff like that, they looked like they're a good squad. They'd built up a good squad. They got into the European places, but then weren't allowed actually play in Europe. And they were going strong. And then kind of after that, it's just kind of been all downhill. And I feel sorry for Kevin Sheedy. I don't know the whole ins and outs of what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know what's going on there. But, you know, at the same time, he's got to be wary of his managerial, I suppose, career now going forward. And if this goes belly up, where does he go from there? Because at the same time, if you look at the squad he's been given, he hasn't been given a very good squad, and you're only as good as the squad you're given, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be blaming Kevin Sheedy and Mike Newell for this. I think there are, as you say, there are issues behind the scenes. I don't know what's happening. I mean, but it's not a good look. I mean, certainly it was a major blow for them being denied the chance to play in Europe. That was that meant so much to them. They haven't played in Europe since 1986 against Bordeaux. That's a long time ago. And they had been so looking forward. It meant so much to them to qualify for Europe. And that was a big blow. And so, I don't know. I think the one thing I would say is that Kevin Sheedy and Mike Newell will have some good contacts across the water. And maybe in July, if there's a budget there to bring in a couple of players from England, that could make an awful difference. And I think Waterford probably have a bigger budget than the likes of Longford and even the likes of Drogheda. They would be operating off a significantly bigger budget there. So there may be opportunities to turn this around. And I don't think Kevin Sheedy's the problem, certainly not by any means. They've had, you've mentioned a few managers there. I think there's other issues there. I hope they will do stick with Kevin Sheedy. I think they will. But it is tough times for Waterford, and it's not good to see. It's a great footballing city. They have a huge history in the league. When I was growing up, Waterford were a top team in the league. They won 6 leagues in 8 seasons. And it's very much different times now. I appreciate it, but for me now, they are very much in a relegation battle and probably the favourites to stay where they are in 10th position unless things turn around. But look, things can change very quickly in football. As I said, that Drogheda game of this weekend, if they were to win that, it could make a huge difference and totally turn things around.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And as you say, it's going to be telling after, everybody's will have played each other at least once at this point now coming into this round of games this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see the results even this weekend. So I suppose we'll leave it there on our League of Ireland show. We've pretty much covered every team there, and I think that's fair to say. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on anything we discussed. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe as well. We're on 85 subscribers away from 10k, so please subscribe if you can, and